Good morning, up with people world, or afternoon, or evening, or middle of the night, depending on where you are. I am Donna Reed, and I'm in Tucson, Arizona, and I've been doing the Cactus Lounge now for about 45 to 50 interviews. So this morning I have Heidi with me, and I know that it's evening where she is, maybe night, like dark. And I want y'all to know that I met Heidi at the reunion this summer in Phoenix when we did a Cactus Lounge live. So Heidi, welcome. And because your name has the little umlaut thing over the A, pronounce your last name for me.
Fassler.
Fassler. Feels like it should be more different than that.
I'm so sorry to disappoint.
Yeah. So welcome. And why don't you tell the alumni world, who's predominantly who is listening, when you joined up with people, where you saw a show, things like that.
Okay, sure. Yeah. So hi, my name is Heidi. I'm from Switzerland, and I grew up on a farm in the mountains. So I'm a walking stereotype.
That's awesome.
And I've been trying to rack my brain when it was that I heard the first time about Up With People. It probably was some TV show maybe in Switzerland. So I traveled in 98, which is sort of the 90s were quite the heyday for Up With People. And I probably read something about it in the news or whatever, but for sure, I know a couple of people from my area who traveled before me, like social circles, not necessarily friends at the time, becoming friends now. And I always thought these are pretty cool people, right? And for some other reason. And then Up With People came to a town next to mine. So this is Switzerland, right? A town next to mine means a 5 or 7 minute drive, right? It's not like a long distance. And one of my friends was like, hey, let's go see the show. And I'm like, yeah, okay, cool, whatever. So we went to see the show. And at the end of the show, I told my friend, I'm so sorry. You will have to wait for me because I'm going to go and interview right now. Right? You remember the signs. If you are between the ages of 17 and 24, interview now. So I did my interviews. I handed in my application to what was then the Brussels office, so the European head office, and started traveling in 98B. So I was in a summer cast, probably about a year after I had seen the show. And that was my first show that I saw. The music always felt familiar. And
how old were you, Heidi? Heidi, how old were you?
Oh, I was one of the old ones.
Were you? I wondered if you were like a kid right out of high school, or were you?
Yeah, no. So I actually, I was turning 24 in the year that I traveled, and I already had a life. I was still living at home, but I had a career. I had my own car. I set my own schedule. I was very independent. So joining Up With People and having the bus will leave on time hammered into me, and giving up a lot of my independence was a bit of a challenge, right? Eventually I decided, oh, that means I don't need to use my brain so much. Okay, I'll just follow the crowd, right? And then eventually when I got tired of that, I decided to adjust the schedule in a way that nobody notices, but that it suits me better. I never miss the bus though. As Swiss, we are very trained. It's instilled in us, right? The train system, it leaves on time.
Gotta be there.
Buses, if the bus leaves on time, the bus leaves on time, right?
So tell me, what town in Switzerland are you from? Is it a town I wouldn't have heard of because it was a little mountain town, or?
Yeah, well, it is on Lake Zurich. I grew up in a town that is called Altendorf, which is about 45 kilometers southeast of Zurich. So basically at the other end of Lake Zurich.
And so what was what was your first language that you spoke growing up?
Swiss German.
Swiss German. That's what I wondered. Did you also then learn French, or not so much?
We had to.
Well, that's what I wondered. I mean, it's a small country.
Yeah.
Okay.
Funny enough, I mean, small country, 4 official languages. English is none of them. And typically, if you are going to school in the German-speaking part of Switzerland, French is compulsory, and nowadays English is also compulsory. So we start English in 2nd grade now, and French in 5th grade.
Okay. Okay. And so you started to say, and then I interrupted because I wanted to ask a question. Where do you live now?
I live in the town next to the town that I grew up.
That 5-minute drive away or 7-minute drive away?
Yeah, basically. It's yeah.
That's funny. That's funny. All right. So so you had gone to school. Had you been to college then? You said you were working and all that, or what were you doing at that time in your life? And are you still doing something related to that, or is your life entirely different?
So the answer is yes and no.
Okay.
So in Switzerland, what we have for many professions is actually apprenticeship programs.
Right.
So I joined an apprenticeship program for business administration at the very ripe age of 16.
Wow.
After 9th grade. And typically the way it works is you have a fixed term contract for 3 years with an employer, with a company. You go to school 2 days a week and you work 3 days a week. And your employer is supposed to match the school curriculum where you learn all the theoretical things about it, because we're in business administration, right? Accounting and law and economics. They're supposed to give you practical work that matches the curriculum so you can sort of transfer your theoretical knowledge into practice.
Yeah, yeah.
And then so when I graduated, I was 19 and I joined a boutique accounting firm, meaning it was a very small shop.
Okay. Yeah.
And did pretty much everything from watering the plants, welcoming our clients, to audits, incorporations, accounting, marketing, comms, pretty much everything. So I learned really a lot in that. The yes and no answer is, the yes part is I'm still working in an accounting firm at a much bigger scale. So I'm working at what is known as the Big Four, one of the Big Four global accounting and tax consulting companies. I have a very different job though. I work in change management for technology projects. So I have an internal role and I'm helping our network member firms who are adopting technology to go through the whole change of adopting that and supporting the teams that are in the different territories.
I can't imagine, because I've told you and I told everybody, I don't even edit these things because I don't want to learn how to edit them. I don't want to have to go in and I feel like, okay, my technology is I have free Zoom, and every time I upload a video and it goes, he asks me questions, I just click right through them. And I know that there are way more things I could do if I just spent the time. So your title, or what you said to do, is fascinating, because I feel like technology is changing at a crazy pace, And so every time I learn something, there's something new to learn, and there's a new app. And if I want to get a discount at a grocery store, I need the app, and that makes me mad. So the old person in me just gets angry. Oh my gosh. So this reunion in Phoenix was one of yours, right? Because we did the 3s and the 8s, right?
Correct.
Right. So how did you have a good turnout from your cast? I know I've seen all the numbers, but how did things go for your cast?
So I'm very happy to say that Cast B98 has a very good turnout at every reunion. So we were about 20 people this time around. And it's just so nice to reconnect with people. people are there in spirit. Like there's been messages flying around and lots of, I wish I could be there. We've been photo spamming our cast group. And it's really great, right? You get, I feel like I get to hang out with my tribe for a few days and then we go our separate ways. And then 5 years later, we hang out and we pick up where we left it, right? So,
That
I mean,
is,
that's just
yeah.
Really, really cool that we have sort of a steady crew. It's quite interesting. We have a steady crew, kind of like
Right.
people who
That's,
have gone to every single reunion,
yep,
and I'm one of them.
yep,
And then we have people who come and go, right? And it doesn't matter if if you haven't been to the first 4 runs, or if
yeah,
if you've gone to the first and then now are coming back again.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I used to work in accounting, but I don't do that kind of accounting.
Okay, yeah, yeah. I think that probably every cast is that way. And then there's people that go, oh, it's my 45th, I gotta go, or oh, it's my 50th. And as we get older, you start realizing that the options and the opportunities will be less. Like we don't know. There's this automatic assumption that you are going to lose people. It doesn't mean that you don't lose people in the younger years, but it's not in the forefront of your brain, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and I'm the same as you. I'm one of those people. I've already said yes to Limerick. I've only ever spent 2 days in Ireland, and that was in 1999. So I told Mary, I will help, but I also want to I want to travel, so, and I don't know if you've looked at the list, but it's a lot of Europeans that have signed up that may or may not come to the States. So that's super exciting,
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I want to go back to your time on the road and up with people in the late 90s. Were you given costumes or did you bring your own wardrobe? Because in the 2000s, when my son traveled, they were suggested to bring clothes.
So we were given show costumes, and they were street style clothes, whatever that meant.
I think it means casual.
If you look at cast photos where we are wearing our given costumes and you compare it with what people actually wore in the 90s, you're like, yeah, you still stand out in the crowd, kind of thing. You just that
that little bit. It's did you watch any of the new show, the 2023 show for the new cast?
No, I haven't, because
Hey.
I was gallivanting and enjoying a blues festival.
Yeah. Well, it was just yesterday, and it was in Mexico yesterday. Maybe it was the day before. I don't know. It was in Mexico. And because I used to help with costumes, I always look to see what they're wearing, and flashing back to the 70s where we couldn't wear, our jeans were our assembly costumes. And so the fact that, and we couldn't wear earrings, we couldn't wear jewelry because they might get in the way. And now the new kids are told to wear, anyway, it's just, it's fascinating.
No glasses, no jewelry on stage, right? That right. Was the same for us as well in the late 90s.
Yeah. And then again, so I think about the people that I've interviewed through the years, because the more recent cast didn't do as many cities as some of us did. And so they were suggested that they would have bus dates so that they would get to know other people. So in 2013, when my son traveled, they were in a place for a week. And so then they would say, if you're going to get to know other people, you need to sit with other people. When you traveled, so I think my year we did like 80 cities. Roughly how many shows did you do, and kind of what was your bus configuration? Did you have rules?
So I can only speak for myself, and I went to PR work twice, so that's why I missed the number of cities, right? But I think I had about 60 host families, so we must have done about 70-ish cities.
Yeah.
If we were lucky, we had, I think we had a couple of cities where we had 2 show days, or I certainly remember in Portland, Maine, we had 3 or 4 show days, which was blissful because you put the stage up and then you have the show and then you get to go home and don't have to work until 2 a.m. and get strike the stage. And then for sort of like buses, it was we had bus sign up lists where you could sign up with your bus state, right? So it was like, so you would like the bus state thing was a thing as well.
Yeah.
And I remember with one of my castmates, I'm like, oh, I'm so excited to talk to him. And it took us all of 15 minutes and we fell asleep because we're completely exhausted. And then we slept for the next like 4 hours of the bus, right? I'm like, yay.
That was fun. So glad I got to hang out with you.
Exactly.
That's so funny to think about. So what was when I traveled, we were kind of the end of the bicentennial, and so we didn't really do an album our year. We were part of 75, 76, kind of all morphed together in 77. What was the name of your show?
So we traveled with
Rhodes. So because Rhodes has been in a lot of shows, what were some of the songs maybe that were in your, I've been to a lot of reunions, but are there songs that were in your show that really are memorable for you?
I mean, for all kinds of reasons, right? For the good reasons. And
the good and the bad, right? Yeah.
So I think the ones that really stand out are one-to-one.
That's a great
Room. There's room for everyone, and Rhodes. And then based on the storyline that you can look up and that I won't bore you with, it was, we were looking for a band for a charity event and we found a band, and our soloist, he's a true rock star, and he had this one song that he performed with the band called Have a Little Faith in Us. And it's such a cool rock song, and it was just so much fun to be on stage and see him perform and be part of the performance.
Wow.
That one really stands out as well.
That's interesting. So because of having been at so many reunions through the 20 some years I've been in Tucson, I never remember what was in what show. Did you have a song in your show? I think we might have talked about this at the Cactus Lounge, but I can't remember whether it was your group or the other one, the live one, that I always want to do the songs in the shows that were ridiculous, that were the funny ones that the cast enjoyed doing, but they're never the ones you get to redo at the reunion. They're never the ones. Did you have a silly song in your show that was fun?
I think one that was a favorite one that we all kind of like was Dromen, which is a Dutch song.
Okay.
So maybe because it's not original Up With People music, it may be the reason why it's not at a reunion. And then we came up with let's say alternative sign language for one-to-one.
Really?
That was not very family friendly. So
you already preemptively asked me what would happen if you swore in this video. So don't show me any motion.
I'm choosing my words really wisely here.
Thank you.
Yeah. So next time I see you, Donna, you have to remind me to show you the alternative sign language for one-to-one.
All right. If in Limerick next year, if you're there, we'll have a meetup and we'll. Oh my gosh, that's funny. All right. So here we are. It's 2023, and you are working in a comparable business. Tell me, do you feel like anything that you did throughout Up With People or learned through Up With People has affected some of your decisions about how you handle things or what you do in your job?
Oh, for sure. I think so there's a couple of takeaways. One certainly is that I don't have to like you to get the job done. We're here to do a job. So let's do the job. So if we're on setup crew together or on strike crew together, come on, it's 140 people. You can't love everyone the
You're
same.
not all best friends. Yeah.
No, no, but that's okay, because it's the job is to set up the stage or to strike the stage, and if you're not doing it, stuff won't happen.
Yeah.
So let's get the job done, and then we go our separate ways again, right? So that's something that really, really influenced how I work with people. I'm a people person, and I generally connect well to people, but there's people that I'm like, yeah, what else? But hey, we're here to get the job done, and if you're not actively undermining me or
Right.
overtly or secretly attack me and I find out, we'll get the job done, right? I don't want to go for a beer with you. I don't want to have coffee with you, but we can get the job done, kind of thing.
It's so funny to think about. You're right, because there are those that you can't wait to spend that time with. And then there's,
the others. Yeah.
The others.
And then certainly another thing that I took from Up With People was standing up for myself in the sense of not underselling my value.
That's a great
So
thing to learn.
coming from a culture where we appreciate talent, but we're not boastful. And then being thrown into North American culture where it's like, I can do everything and I'm the best of whatever, right? And I say that with all the love I have for my US friends and my Canadian friends. But it's like, and it was this, like a couple of instances where it was, there's a assignment or whatever, in the cast. And I'm like, yeah, maybe I could do that. And I see some, I don't know, 18-year-old high school graduate jump up, say, I could totally do this. And I'm looking and I'm thinking, yeah, no, but okay. So eventually I got so annoyed with that. I'm like, no, I'm going to put up my hand, right? Which I did. And then when I came back from Up With People, I was looking for a job and was in an interview with in a consulting firm, in a global consulting firm, for a executive assistant position. And the recruiter wasn't a very friendly person, let's just put it that way. And it got to the like I got to the point where I'm like, well, if I'm not getting the job, I'm not getting the job, but okay. So we were talking about salary, and I said, I gave them my number, and she looks at me, she's like, what makes you say something like that? And I was like, okay, well, there's my education, there's my experience, there's this, and I think I'm worth every single cent.
Did they appreciate that? Did she appreciate that?
And then she looked at me and she's like, well, we'll see about that. And then, but I swear to you, had I not had to like stand up for myself like that in Up With People, I would never have dared to say that in that interview, right? I got the job. I worked there for 3 years. I had a great time. Never had to talk to the recruiter again, which was great. But it was that kind of sort of like self-confidence in terms of, no, hang on. I can do that. Like I know I can, and I will tell you that I can, right? Previously it would have been, I know I can, but I wouldn't have told you.
And every person I know, especially those who did PR, which many people did PR, some did more than others, right? And came back. But I think that at the first interview or first Cactus Lounge in Phoenix, we talked to people who were like, we sent 18-year-olds into towns they'd never been into, and they were expected to get cars, find homes, get meals, do all this stuff. And right now, I don't know, there's this piece of me that we as humans, and I'm going to say global humans, because I don't want to just put it all in the United States, there's so much less trust that can be done. And I think that maybe at some level COVID made it that way a little bit, because everybody backed off from anything live, like any live human interaction, and so we tend to be a more skeptical world. And so I agree with you, and I'm older than you. I think it took me longer to know what I was capable of and to be able to speak that, as compared to, I never had parents that said, you can't do it because you're a woman or anything like that, but for whatever reason within myself. So that's a great skill set to come from Up With People. Ugh. All right, we're going to move to food because we have 6 minutes left. Is there anything that you ate for the first time on the road that you absolutely loved or hated? I might have asked you guys this in person in Tucson. I can't remember, or in Phoenix. Sorry.
Yeah, and you'll remember when I say what it was. So for me, first time was s'mores,
Ah,
and it really connects also to an experience because we were a split cast. Some of the lucky buggers got to go to Bermuda.
yeah,
I wasn't one of them.
yeah,
And when we reunited the cast, I think it was in Canada, in Eastern Canada. And we had a night with the cast, and there were bonfires and there were s'mores, and sort of like
yeah.
having the whole group together again. That sort of like, food and smells and tastes evoke memories, and that combination
Yeah.
definitely evokes that memory.
All the sensory perceptions. That's neat.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're right. It's funny how you can walk in a place and smell something and have your brain take you, somewhere. For me, for s'mores, it would be sticky. Because like, how do you eat
Yeah,
this
gooey and
without-
sticky and everything, but
No, but still the memory. So,
yeah.
Up With People Voices has relaunched. And I think there was about 35 that were in the video the other day. And I try to find out from people what you would say to an 18 to 25-year-old who might just be figuring out what they're going to do and decide to do this gap year, either right after high school or right after college. Anything that you might say to them, knowing full well that we don't quite know the new program well yet.
I think to this day, regardless of what the program looks like at the moment, well,
Yeah.
the way the program looks like at the moment, let's just put it that way. I think Up With People offers a very unique opportunity to connect with people, with the cast you're traveling with, but also the people you're staying.
Mm-hmm.
And my advice would also be to anyone traveling at the moment is staying connected with home is great, but it takes away focus and attention of what is right in front of you. And sort of this, I mean, you traveled even way before me. When I traveled, yes, I had an email address, but I couldn't use it really because nobody at home had an email, right?
Right.
So I was basically cut off from my home life and everything that's happening at home, which also meant that I didn't have to worry about that or think about that, but I could really be present where I am. And as exhausting as it was to not get a break and be able to talk to family and friends on a regular basis or on a real-time basis, I think it really shaped the experience as well.
I agree. Yeah. Be present. Those are great words, in the moment, because you're never going to get those moments back. And yeah, I've thought about that with all the technology related to the cast and being on the road. And yet that group of kids looks like they're coming together. So very cool. All right. I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you for taking the time today.
Sure.
I probably will post it fairly soon because I've only done one interview since the reunion in my travels and need to get a few more done. If you have anybody that you think would be fun for me to interview, let me know. Thanks for participating in Phoenix and for bringing goodies for me to eat. Our blind taste test, which was fun, for that. And any parting words?
No, stay present.
Stay present. That's super. All right. Thanks, Heidi. I'm going to end this.